All right, so we've got some interesting comments here from Joe Rogan. Now, he was speaking about the 2020 election. He kind of does this every once in like every podcast. He'll throw in something, because they're lengthy conversations. And as you guys know, he's a fan of both Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. Seems like he's more of a Tulsi fan than a Bernie fan, marginally speaking. And it seems like he's a fan of both of them. Now, he was speaking with another guy on his podcast, and let us go ahead and hear what his thoughts are on the 2020 election.
I can't take another 4 years of it, even though it's entertaining. I'm exhausted.
People don't like change. They get scared of change. And if things are going well economically, and if it turns out that this thing with Iran doesn't turn into anything disastrous by the time November rolls around, I think he's going to win in a landslide. I don't see, unless Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard get together, and then everybody goes, you know what, that would work. Like this is a real combination of people that I could get behind. Unless it's something like that where there's like some overwhelming candidate, but I don't see that. And they seem to be pushing for Elizabeth Warren. I don't see that.
Yeah.
She was a Republican most of her career, and she became a Democrat like when she was in her late 40s.
I find maybe it's just me, but
So, as you guys see there, he says a couple of things. Now, I disagree with the idea that Americans don't like change. My reasoning for that is I believe that a big reason why Trump won actually was because he was going to be different. I believe that if Americans didn't like change, they would have voted for Hillary Clinton because she's the opposite of change, right? She is the status quo. And so that is why I am of the firm belief, and that's why I believe Obama won in 2008 and 2012. Remember, the Hope and Change campaign wasn't end up what it was not what it ended up being. However, that is what he campaigned on, and that's how he won. So I firmly disagree with the idea that Americans don't want change. That's not true. And that's why you ask yourself, why would a moderate lose to Donald Trump? It's because they're not offering any change. They are offering the status quo, everything the same, keep everything the same. So I certainly, strongly disagree with that. Now, obviously, want to commend Joe Rogan for being a fan of Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard because they're both very progressive candidates. Although, Tulsi Gabbard is a little bit up in the air. However, what I will say is this. I think that a Bernie-Tulsi candidacy actually would be worse than virtually any other vice president, barring a few, outliers. But I think that the only real candidates for vice president left at this point seem to be Nina Turner and Barbara Lee. Now, he needs to have a black woman as his vice president because he needs to diversify the ticket as a reach out to other voters. Now, why is it that I say that a Tulsi Gabbard vice presidency wouldn't be a good decision? The reason why I say that is because Tulsi Gabbard doesn't really offer any sort of support. She's polling at about 1%, so she has about 1% to contribute to the campaign. So it means there's no real block of voters for Tulsi Gabbard to gain. And what you're talking about is you're inviting a massive smear machine against you from the mainstream media and virtually everyone. And when it comes to getting, the Hillary-ite wine grandma voters out, it's going to be a really difficult thing to do with Tulsi on the tickets. That's why I'm not even in favor of Tulsi endorsing Bernie, because it's just going to make unifying harder when Bernie emerges victorious. So I think that she doesn't really offer anything in terms of gaining voters, and so not only does she not really offer anything in terms of gaining voters, in addition to that, she invites this massive smear machine that's going to happen. Oh, she's a Russian asset, all this stupid stuff, and it's like, it's like getting ready to run for a marathon. And, instead of preparing right before you're about to run the marathon, you grab a hammer and just destroy your leg, break your knee and your leg, and then you're going to run the marathon. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? So a better pick would be Nina Turner or Barbara Lee. Now, Barbara Lee she was the only one in the House to vote against the authorization of use of military force, so she's effectively a legend because of that. And then she's also progressive, obviously. Nina Turner is also someone who's very progressive, and she's a really good speaker and a really good organizer and all of that good stuff, so that's why she'd be a great vice president. So I do want to give a shout out, obviously, to Joe Rogan for endorsing Bernie and Tulsi. I do like that he is doing that. But, yeah, I think that would not be the best of choice, but still shout out to Rogan.